My wound became infected. The doctor needed to perform a cleanup procedure on me. This made it very difficult for me to breathe. They tested the fluid in the infected area and found staph bacteria in it. My second surgery began. The doctors gave me an anesthetic. But after a long time, I could still hear voices around me. I heard the doctors lamenting as they talked about my wife and how maybe I would never see her again. Why were they talking about me and my family like that? I was still alive. They shouldn't talk like that. Don't they know that I can still hear? I felt very confused and angry. My situation was not good at that time. My whole body was invaded by Staphylococcus. It was very complicated to completely eliminate this bacteria. During the first surgery, my wound became infected, but no one knew why. The tools used by the doctors were sterilized. I woke up in the intensive care unit. I opened my eyes and found my family gathered around me, their faces full of sadness. I had an oxygen tube inserted into my throat and had no way to communicate with them. I wanted to tell them, "It's not that bad, I feel fine." The doctor asked me how I was feeling and I made a victory gesture. The doctor walked out of the room to talk to my parents. I heard their conversation. The doctor said I was confused and most likely had a brain injury. "We are considering which antibiotics to use to treat the bacteria in his body." "What kind of disease does he have, doctor? What should we do now?" My mother asked anxiously. The staph had just begun to spread, but it was very dangerous. My parents shot up and my wife asked the doctor, "How serious is it?" The doctor replied in the affirmative, "Very serious." We had two options: give him medicine to eradicate the staph. But there are risks associated with this approach. If we abandon the treatment, you will lose him in a few days. My parents and wife went home with broken hearts. Because there was no extra bed for them in the hospital. I felt a pain in my throat and I had no way to speak. The nurse gave me her cell phone and she asked me to write down what I wanted to say. All I could write down was, "My throat hurts." The nurse said, "It's normal to be a little uncomfortable," but she couldn't take the tube off. A few hours later, one nurse said to another nurse, "She has to go to the first floor to pick up a delivery package." Not long after that, the second nurse said to me, "She has to leave for a while and promises to be back soon." Not long after the nurse left, I felt breathless. With the secretion of some phlegm, the tube was blocked. Oxygen could not reach my lungs. I had no way to call out loud. My body squirmed and I couldn't do anything. A few seconds felt like hours. Almost at the same time, the alarm sounded. There was a large group of doctors and nurses entering my room. I heard their panicked screams. They seemed to be shouting like madmen. I could hear everything, but I could no longer breathe. At the same time, the doctor put a little fluid in the tube to try to suck out the phlegm. I started to lose consciousness and my body started to stop working. I stopped breathing, and my heart stopped beating. Then, I left. When I opened my eyes again, I saw myself in a hospital gown and doctors surrounding my body. I saw my body. I was floating in the air. I felt very relaxed. I couldn't control what was happening, so I chose to give up. Then, the wonderful journey began. I kept floating upward, and I saw a very huge tree, which shone brightly. There were many small animals around the big tree. They were similar to the animals on Earth, but there were several animals I had not seen before and I did not know how to describe them. They were all in harmony and I felt at peace here, and they radiated a love I had never felt before. I continued to move forward and my body became more and more relaxed. My muscles no longer ache, I can breathe freely, and I no longer feel tired. The relaxation was not just external, it was also internal. The scene in front of me was incredible. There were giraffes, elephants, lions, and more. The scene was beautiful. I was amazed by the color of the skin of each species. I saw these wild animals for the first time and they were so different from the animals on Earth. They were friendly. As if we knew each other. I moved on. I saw a lot of children here, and they had different skin colors. They come from different areas. Each one is unique and beautiful at the same time. Everyone was happy. They were playing and running around the river. If I had a choice, I would decide to stay here. I don't feel worried or anxious here. I also saw a lot of older people. They looked so energetic. People were smiling and I felt empowered. There is a lot of love in the atmosphere. It's like a big garden with all kinds of colorful flowers around. People were sitting around, talking to each other, smiling at each other. They did not speak. It was as if they were communicating with their consciousness. People were reading books in the garden. They were in the middle of a garden full of flowers and a beautiful river. They were walking along the river. I did not feel uncomfortable here. I was not harmed in any way. I think of my parents and my wife. I know they are suffering, and I know they will be okay. I stopped worrying when I thought that they would come here later too. Suddenly, I saw a light in the distance. Could this be my final destination? The closer I got to it, the stronger the love I felt. I enjoyed this feeling very much. I felt a hand touching my head. In this moment, I was overwhelmed with intense love. I heard a gentle voice saying to me, "Stay calm, you can't stay here yet." I had a lot of questions I wanted to ask, but in this moment I started my journey home. I thought, am I going to have to go back in this rough way? The experience was so beautiful. I saw myself in a hospital bed and the doctors were resuscitating me. For a moment, I was back in my own body. I felt pain again. I opened my eyes and saw many doctors surrounding me. I felt a lot of heat in my chest. I didn't want to stay here. I slowly fell asleep. It was as if no one cared what I wanted. Everyone wanted to take me back to this place of pain. During the time I was gone, my heart stopped beating. The doctors were desperate. But they didn't give up on me. After a long time, I regained my heartbeat. I came back and I was back in the hospital. A cardiologist stayed with me all night. At first, I felt confused and disoriented. I blamed the doctor for bringing me back. Several hours passed before I gradually came to my senses. It was then that I slowly came to terms with what had happened. I told the doctor about my experience and he reassured me that I was just hallucinating because I was temporarily deprived of oxygen.